So let me introduce you to Paul Morrissey, the writer of Wickies. And you also need to correct me if I'm mispronouncing any names. Graham Dowling.
Perfect.
Ewan Stewart.
Correct.
And Jamie O'Quinn, or Quinn?
Quinn.
Jamie
Yeah.
Quinn. Okay, thank you. Thank you guys for joining me.
Yeah.
Okay, so as I mentioned, and this lady in the back knows, there was a wonderful play here at the Park Theatre last year called When Darkness Falls, which was also a supernatural thriller. There were ghosts. It was in Guernsey. There was a storm. There were things happening with boats. Look, few similarities. Are you obsessed with ghosts?
Apparently so. Yeah. I didn't know that.
So tell me how, because there are similarities, but they're also very different. What came first? When the idea for When Darkness Falls, the idea for Wickies, what led to what?
Sure. So the idea for When Darkness Falls came because I am from Guernsey originally, which is a little channel island. If anyone knows it, anyone been there? No?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So it's a little channel island, just sort of nearer France than it is to here. And I grew up on island life, and I wanted to write a story about it, and the folklore of the Channel Islands really resonated with me. So I wrote a play that turned into a full ghost story. And then I was sitting down having dinner with my co-producer, Chris Wheeler, and he said to me, I've got your next play if you want to keep writing about ghost stories and spooky islands. And I said, oh, go on then. And he said, it's a thing called The Vanishing Men of Eilean Moor. I was like, that sounds intriguing, let's have a listen to that. So he told me the story, and he got to the end of the story, and I went, I need to write this. I absolutely need to write this. So I went home and I started researching it, and I just got embroiled in it. And it had a lot of the same DNA as Darkness Falls, but it is different. It's not, I never intended this to be an out-and-out spooky ghost story. We didn't want it to be full of jump scares. Yes, there is a couple of those. There are a couple of those. But it wasn't about that. It was about, for me, it was a study of these three guys and what they go through in this isolated space on an isolated island. So it's like, concentric circle of isolation. And I was like, this is really interesting for me. And I have a third one as well. So I've just finished the final one in what is going to be an island trilogy.
So it's a very different island, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a very different island.
Go on,
it's this one. The next one's about Alcatraz.
I've been to Alcatraz.
Oh, I've been to Alcatraz.
Yeah, that is spooky.
Yeah,
They're fascinating, and the stories that go on in these they're fascinating.
Okay, but we're not going to talk about
We're not
Alcatraz.
talking about that.
So we can hear from your accent, and as you said, you're not Scottish, but you guys are actually Scottish, right?
Yes,
as are several members in our audience, by the way. So question for the three cast members: had you heard of the Vanishing Men of Eilean Moor before?
I'd heard little bits briefly, yeah, but I didn't really know the ins and outs of it, But it's quite a famous story in Scotland. I think everyone's heard little bits and pieces, But I didn't really. But once I started the job, I kind of started to become a bit obsessed. You go down a rabbit hole, don't you?
Yeah.
but yeah, I knew little bits and pieces.
Yeah, I think it's very much. Again, as soon as I read the blurb about it, I went, oh yeah, because it's in so much. It's in culture. It's in folk songs. It's in kind of films have been inspired by it. Books have been inspired by it. So it's in the Scottish psyche.
Ewan?
No.
You say you're And whereabouts in Scotland are each of you from?
I'm from just outside Glasgow. I was born in Glasgow, but a place called Coatbridge, which is just on the outskirts of Glasgow.
Ewan?
Very mongrel. I've spent a good bit of time in Edinburgh and Glasgow and further north, Bankery, in the northeast.
Okay. Graham?
Very similar in
Okay.
terms of I was born in Edinburgh, grew up for a little bit in Fife, moved to the Middle East.
Oh, okay.
I didn't. My family, we moved to the Middle East, and then came back. Did the last few years of school East Coast, and then I moved to England.
But I ask because the setting in this play seems so much a character in and of itself. And as someone who's never been to the Outer Hebrides, they just the name conjures up this kind of feeling of mystery to me. Have any of you been, and does it do the same for you as a Scotsman?
I think the furthest I've been is maybe like Kilstornoway, but I've never been actually up to the Hebrides. But I was quite ignorant. I thought it was like you could just get there to Ireland like that. I was like, so I was doing research. I was like, so how can I go? And we were like, you can't. you need to have like a helicopter.
You can only get by helicopter now.
Yeah.
Or boat, but it's about £3,000. And even when you get there, you might not be able to get off.
Wow.
Yeah, or get onto the island because
Yeah.
the steps, there are 150 odd steps going up and they're treacherous apparently. So, yeah.
And you've been?
No, we've only seen them from Harris and Lewis.
Wow, that's
But
amazing.
you can see them from Harris and
Yeah.
Lewis, yeah, of course.
On the clear day.
So,
On the clear day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, sir, you have a
so
question.
presumably this lighthouse is still there and still working, but
Yes.
unmanned.
It's automated now, yeah.
So, but maintenance people must go there. So it
They
must
do. We actually heard from someone, someone posted on our feeds, on our social feeds, saying that he painted it in 2017.
Okay, so good question. So we are jumping around a little bit. I want to come back to the fate of lighthouse keepers overall, but we touched on research. Tell me about the research you undertook and then that you as a cast, given that you have not been to the Outer Hebrides.
Yeah, I tried. I really tried. I tried really hard. My favourite bit of I did all the standard research that you would do, you know, with Google and things like that are so incredible. But my favourite bit of research was we went to the Northern Lighthouse Board and we had a tour of the Northern Lighthouse Board and met some of the senior people there, and they introduced us to a wiki, somebody who was one of the last keepers, not of Island Moor, but he did work on one of the Flann Islands, and he told us what it was like to actually work there. He was one of the last people. We'd basically talked to him for about an hour and 10 minutes, and we were just about to wrap up the meeting, and then he said, I probably should have told you this at the start, but my best friend worked on Island Moor. I was like, yes, that's the bit you should have started with. And he told me what he thinks happened. Because so this is amazing. So this guy his friend was painting outside like they frequently did, and he was up a ladder painting, and so already you're 150 feet above sea level, and then you're up a ladder, and he said a wave went over his head. So he's absolutely convinced it was a wave, but if it was, it would still be the biggest wave ever recorded in history.
That's an enormous wave.
Yeah.
So what other research did you actors undertake? And then you're going to have to tell me what you actually think happened.
Well, I did a lot of reading, obviously, and we did a lot in rehearsals of like a day in the life of a lighthouse keeper and stuff like that. So we'd work out what our ribbons would be, what our routines would be, and stuff like that. But yeah, there's a lot of there's a lot out there with just like reading about the actual people and stuff. Like, but yeah. Who's the author of the book? That good book.
So I like to, if I get a part, when I get a part, I like to read loads. So I think I ordered like 4 books on lighthouses.
Yeah.
Just, sometimes some fiction, some non-fiction. There is an actual book about the mystery of the Flann Islands, and it's a bit of a geek fest. Like it's everything you need is in that
Great,
book
yeah,
about
it's
like the daily life, what happened, all the different theories. I live in the south coast, so I went to the Beachy Head lighthouse. So I took a little trip out to that.
Ooh.
So yeah, reading is what I particularly like to do in prep for a part.
Good immersion. Ewan, what about you? Are you a research geek?
No, I haven't really immersed myself much in what it meant to be a lighthouse keeper as such. More, I think, I was born in 1957, so it's actually not that far away from 1900 to then project back to what people were like, what society was like, what men were more like than they are today. So I'm always thinking about things than actually, than what the day-to-day life of a lighthouse keeper. I don't really know, to be honest. I mean, I do, you know what I mean? But I don't in thorough detail.
Okay. And what are your theories about what happened? Have you decided what you think happened? Ewan, I'm looking.
Well, I think I think the wave is the most likely explanation, but I also believe very much that we're talking about we're at war with the elements. Elements means all kinds of things, and whether there's some kind of particular tricky energy around, without sounding too airy-fairy about it, that could be another element of it. You're already 3 men, one might be threatening to kill one of them, so it's already a bit charged, and then on top of that, I think maybe the atmosphere there is potentially got something which quite, maybe call it spooky.
Yeah. Well, when we talked about When Darkness Falls, we talked about a lot about, do you believe in ghosts? And if so, what is a ghost? What does it mean to be a ghost? But that's obviously picked up again in this piece, but also the piece of, do you believe a place can be cursed? Can it? And
Yeah.
you
And
seem to suggest it could, you and maybe.
And it's also the last entry in the logbook was so much of this play is almost verbatim, and God is over all. The last entry in the logbook was God is over all. Like, and up until that point in the logbook, it was all very mundane, just working things. So suddenly, for James Duckett to write God is over all and then to disappear.
That for me was one of the most spine-tingling bits of the play.
And it's almost poetic, and almost like whatever's going to happen to me, I'm okay with it because God is watching.
And James Duckett praying and Thomas Marshall crying, and they're all facts. That's what's
freaky,
documented.
isn't it?
And you go, but these are three hardened guys. Why was Thomas Marshall crying?
And they hadn't been there that. I mean, well, the new arrival hadn't been there that long.
Yeah.
No.
But and so I was going to ask that. So all of the log entries are true, and the reports as well from
All
the
true, yeah, all
inquest?
true. So
But the logbook has vanished. The Lighthouse Board mysteriously lost it.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I asked at the Northern Lighthouse Board if we could see it, and they kept very quiet. But they said, "Look, we don't know where it is."
Wow, that's spooky. Okay, I'm looking for other hands now. Hands. Everyone's being shy. You have a question?
Yeah, I record some of my thoughts. Okay.
Okay.
First of all, the main actors really acted well. There are some subtle movements like eyes, hands, and feet made the characters seem very three-dimensional and brought out the character of each character. Because I'm acting major, so you told me so much. Thank you. And then the characters, I know it's so hard to adapt mystery into a play and retain its mystery and thrill. But the director managed to do it. In the middle, the actors sung a number of songs, created a peaceful and atmosphere. In order to pave the way for the climax afterwards. And I think you are letting me enjoy a very good play. Whether it's lighting, stage design, or sound effects, I think the play is very complete.
Thank you
Oh,
so much.
That's really
Thank you.
lovely feedback. Thank you. So Paul wrote the play, but this is an excellent opportunity for us to shout out your creative team.
Yeah,
so can you just tell us?
Yeah, so Shilpa T. Hyland directed this, and I think did an extraordinary job of navigating the different periods of time. And I wanted a piece that was sort of part mystery and thriller, but also sort of part detective story in a way of the three guys that are the relief keepers trying to work out what the hell happened. I think she dealt with that amazingly. We had Maggie Bain did the movement, and they did those costume changes and everything.
The jackets.
Yeah, so clever. And Zoe did the set, which I think you got to agree is one of the best sets.
Zoe Hurwitz. This is
Zoe Hurwitz I've seen
fantastic.
in a long time, and the lighting and the sound as well. Just incredible people. So we're
Yes,
so
Bethany
lucky.
Gupwell did the lighting, Nick Paddock Tomlinson, the sound, and Niall Bailey, composer and music. Also, the illusions, if you haven't got the programme, do get the programme. So some really interesting bits, including an interview with the illusion designer, John Bullied, who also worked with you on When Darkness Falls.
Yes, he did. He's the magic director, one of the magic directors of Harry Potter in town. So.
And music was very important here. I loved the shanties. Those are all original shanties, presumably? Or did you write any?
No,
of them?
No, they're all
original.
standards.
Yeah,
They're all in the
proper folk songs.
Yeah.
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 The last one we sing isn't a shanty, I would say more a labourer song.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so why were those pieces in particular chosen, and how did you guys feel singing them? You sing beautifully. Have you all
We really
sung in
enjoyed it, I
public
think,
before?
didn't we? We all enjoyed the singing.
Yeah, we're thinking of continuing a band after the play.
The Lighthouse Keepers go on tour.
Yeah, the Lighthouse Keepers. That's a great name.
But yeah, I think I didn't realise how much singing there would be in it. And I think there was a good couple more that kind of got shelved. But I mean, they're a good way of releasing tension. They're a good way of moving. Pretty much every song that we sing is a passage of time. So we every time we sing, we skip a couple of days. So it's a nice way of transitioning to the next day, and it's a way of them bonding and you know, on a lighthouse, you would probably sing to kind of pass the time and.
Yeah.
And they all had kind of like, a lot of them had Navy kind of relations, like it was Leave or Johnny, that's a kind of famous complaining Navy song apparently, like, so if you're at the end of a mission or whatever and you're kind of fed up, you would sing, all the guys would sing Leave or Johnny. So that's why in that scene when the guys are kind of getting frustrated, and particularly James Duckett, I kind of break the ice by singing Leave or Johnny, because that's what you're doing in that situation when you're complaining. Right?
Very beautiful.
But I also, a lot of the time, we're picking those notes out of thin air. So I think we should give ourselves a pat on the back. Because I was I was convinced that we're coming one day. But so far, it's been okay. Isn't it?
Then you're now. Do you go home and you're singing in the shower now?
Oh yeah, back in the dressing room. Yeah.
It's getting more and more poppier as we go on. In the warm up, we're like, guys, we need to calm down. We're not going direction.
I love it. Okay, guys, we're running out of time. So if you do have questions, get your hands up. Any questions? Yeah, here we go.
The shotgun that had been fired.
Yeah.
Any
What
theories
explanation?
on that?
The birds that I killed.
Yeah, it's the birds that he kills is what we're
Yeah.
ascribing it to.
Yeah, that's what we can explain in the play, but
Yeah.
who knows?
Except that's not a shotgun, it's a rifle.
It's a rifle. Oh, what is the difference? I don't even know. Okay, some gun person's gonna like angrily tweet me about that. Paul, I have to thank you for teaching me a new word in preparation for tonight, and that is pharaologist, which is a lover of lighthouses.
Yeah.
Is that right? Okay.
Yep.
And just the very nature, you know, the piece in and of itself, the lighthouse, the beacon of hope. There's some lovely lines in there. It's such a great metaphor, isn't it, about light.
That was literally my way in, because I think for ages I was looking at it, I think I say it in the programme, of how do you write a mystery that hasn't been solved? You know, because you want to give people an ending that they're satisfied with, but I can't solve it because I don't know what happened. And I thought, actually, maybe I'm not the best person to do this, but I think it was the metaphor of the light and the darkness that I went, hang on a second, that's a really important thing, you know. And there's a line in it that says, that you say about, it's a light for everybody outside, while we're inside we feel anything but safe, you know, to guide people home and to make them feel safe, but inside we don't.
And Ewan's got that great line that the lighthouse is, I love this line, it's a symbol of man's good intention.
Yeah, it's a great line.
It is a great line, because it is about a common good, that we're looking out for each other, and that we need to look out for each other each day. And I also like that, because as related to that, you've got a great charity partnership for this production, isn't that right?
Yes, we have, and we're really sort of what we wanted. It's not a play about the charity is called Strongman, and it's sort of largely a bereavement charity, but it was also about, you know, these three men didn't communicate with each other properly, you know, and did that contribute to the mental health and therefore the downfall of these guys? Did the isolation push one of them over? Did it push you over? You know, and we found it. You know, it was something that came out in the auditions. Really, actually, with the guys that were coming into the room and auditioning, were being quite affected by it. I think, and it was really important to us that a play about three guys. We wanted to make sure that we partnered with a charity that, you know, guys need to talk. We need to talk. You know.
Yeah.
And yes, it was important to us.
I think that's great. Yes, sir.
Sorry, it's a very simple question. We keep referring to people as dobbers.
Dobbers, that's a good word, isn't it?
It's like
It means exactly what you think it means.
yeah, like an idiot, but ruder.
I was really thrilled when I found that word.
It's a real Scottish.
Yeah, it's a Scottish,
Do people in Scotland still use that word?
Yeah, it's not a very nice word in Scotland.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So use it liberally. Okay, so coming back then, are there any wikis left?
No.
So it's a it's a
it's
trade that
all
exists no more.
It's all automated now, since the 70s, I think,
That's
you know.
quite.
It's sad, isn't it?
That is sad.
But there are still wikis left, as in I met John, who was a wiki, so he's got incredible stories, but
Yeah.
no, he doesn't
Former
like it.
wiki. He's a former wiki.
Yeah.
Okay, well so we should celebrate all wikis, especially because this week marks the 122nd anniversary of these three gentlemen disappearing, isn't it? Would be Thursday?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so on Thursday is December the 15th, which is the day we think they went missing. It was the last day that log was recorded, so that's a really important day for us.
Are you doing anything special?
Yeah, something a little.
Oh, really?
A little something. When all is said and done, these were 3 real people.
Yeah.
And it was sort of incumbent on me as the writer. And I'm sure these guys feel it too, but to make sure that we honoured them, that we respected them,
Yeah.
And what happened on the 15th? Well, we're going to raise a glass to them. Let's say.
Okay.
Us 3 are not going to turn up at the theatre. That's a great marketing.
What a great homage.
Embarrassing actors of Wickies.
The stage manager over here is going, don't even think about it. Okay.
Not come back in after this.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So, any final question from the audience? If not, I'm going to take the final question. Okay. You've had your chance. All right. So, I was really tickled with Graham's knitting prowess.
Oh, yes.
Have you? Did
I
you
learned
learn?
it for this. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not brilliant, but I'm definitely going to continue.
Oh, really?
It's very therapeutic, and it stops you looking at your phone as well. Cause
Yeah. Okay, so here's my abridged version of Desert Island Discs for each of you. So if you were on an island and you had all that time to fill, you don't have phones, no mobile signal, what would you do to pass the time? Graham, would you keep knitting?
Yeah, I would do something practical. I play the clarinet, so I might take my clarinet.
Ooh, that's very good.
Yeah, just to let you know. If ever. Something like learn a skill, whether. Yeah, I think so. Or play the music.
I predict more actor-musician roles in your future. Ewan, how would you spend your time?
Well, without Terri, I'd be really stuck. No, probably a similar sort of thing. I'd take a mandolin. I'm trying to learn how to play the mandolin, so I'd take that. And I don't know, I'd be stuck, I'd say, without a Terri and walking down the high street and all that. I'd be stuck.
Whoa, okay. And
Go mad.
Jamie?
Yeah, maybe something musical, or like my character, I'm also not a very good cook, so maybe I would learn how to cook.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah.
Well, it seems to me, given the musical ambitions, that Wickies, the group, is a good idea.
Yeah. Coming to a venue near you soon.
Coming to a venue. Really good. And finally, Paul, how would you spend your time? Writing another play?
I'd write another play that isn't about ghosts or islands, I think. Yeah, that's what I'd do.
Very good. Okay, well, thank you. That was very good. Now, audience, you guys are now champions for Wickies. Will you please go out and tell everybody to come again yourselves? It's here until the 31st of December. Once we give these guys a really big clap, I'm going to do what I call the social media money shot for those of you who are on social media. If we could budge up and get a group shot, and then you guys take photos, share it, and tell people to come. Will you do that for me? Yes, everybody is nodding. Very good. Okay, in which case, please join me in thanking Jamie and Ewan and Graham and Paul. Thank you.